Have you ever had someone you know and love change so drastically that you can't help but wonder if it's even the same person? I have. It is the creepiest thing that ever happened to me. I don't know what to do. I can't eat, I can't sleep, and I certainly can't spend even a second alone with my brother. My name is Jill. My brother Jeremy and I used to be very close when we were little. We are twins, which is arguably the strongest connection that siblings can share. I mean, we've been together longer than either of us can remember, even longer than we've existed in this world. That means something. At least, I always thought so. However, since we turned 13, this connection started crumbling. Jeremy suddenly stopped spending time with me. He would never include me in his friend group anymore. He never explained why. What had I done wrong? My mom said it's just a phase, that I should be smarter and not get upset with him. I've always considered myself to be the mature one, so that's what I did. Waited for him to come to his senses and start acting like my brother again. But not anymore. After what happened during the road trip to our aunt's house, I'm just scared of him. And I'm not even sure that the person that lives in our house is my brother. It all started a week ago. Our parents decided that we should spend the weekend with our aunt. We wanted to show her our support and check on her since she recently had lost her husband. After his death, she relocated to a small town in Massachusetts. That's about 5 hours drive from Philly, where our family lives. My dad thought it would be a good idea to drive through the night. We would arrive on Saturday early in the morning, avoiding all the traffic jams. My mom was a little bit concerned that my brother and I would get tired, but we convinced them that it was all right. The trip started off with a fight. Jeremy was moody and kept picking on me. Whatever I said or did, he would find it irritating and wasn't afraid to show it with a snarky comment or an overly grumpy look. Mom took my side and told him to behave, so as a result, he ended up getting mad at everyone. Dad tried to ease the tension by putting some music on, but it didn't really help. It might have even made things more awkward. 4 people, equally angry and upset, driving with some jolly tunes playing. What can be weirder than that? If that wasn't enough, it started raining. A cherry on top of a shitty road trip. We've been driving outside of big cities, so the road was pretty much empty. Those rare cars that we met were mostly coming from the opposite direction. At some point, I think it was about 2 a.m., Jeremy said he needed to go to the restroom. My dad promised to stop at the first rest area that would be on our way. Soon after, he saw a gas station sign. Dad turned in and parked near the station. He turned around and looked at my brother. "There's gotta be a restroom inside. Do you want me to come with you?" "Gosh, no." Jeremy spat the answer, got out of the car, and slammed the door. He hastily walked towards the building. When he walked into the station, another car appeared. It passed us and parked on the other side of the lot. It wasn't a nice car, to say the least. It was old, with its bumper covered in scratches and one door smashed. A man got out of that car and went towards the building. My dad fidgeted in his seat. "Don't," said Mom, putting a hand over his. "He'll think you treat him like a child." He nodded and stayed in the car. We were sitting in silence. Neither my brother nor the man came out. The windows of the station building were dirty and covered with ad posters, so we couldn't see much of what was happening inside. My dad started tapping his fingers on the wheel. "What's taking him so long?" I could hear Mom's voice trembling. "If he's not out in a minute, I'm gonna go check on him," Dad replied. Both of them tried to hide their concern, but I could tell they were worried. A minute later, my dad opened the car door. "Okay, I'm going in." But before he even stepped out of the car, the gas station door opened and Jeremy finally came out. "Well, there he is!" My mom sighed with relief. My brother was walking quickly, almost running. He got inside the car and nodded impatiently. "Come on, let's go." His voice sounded cold, collected. He was clearly trying to hide his ragged breathing. "Everything okay? You seem shaken up." I'm fine, just drive. Dad shrugged and took off. As we were leaving the gas station, I saw the man, the same one that drove the crappy car, getting out of the building. He rushed towards our car and blocked the driveway. In the hazy light, we could barely see him. He seemed like a homeless person. He was wearing shapeless old ripped clothes and had a dirty gray beard. But what startled me the most was that look in his eyes. It was the look of complete and utter madness, as if he had seen something horrific and unexplainable. The look that all the prophets in apocalyptic movies have. The one that is filled with knowledge of something truly terrible happening. My dad rolled down the window. "What the hell, man? Leave us alone!" The man ran up to my dad's side of the car. "That's not your son," he yelled. "The boy that just got into your car is not your son." Dad turned around and threw a quick look at Jeremy. He was sitting there, pale, motionless, with goggled eyes, barely breathing. "Sober up, buddy." My dad rolled up his window and drove off. I turned around to see that the man tried to run after us, but we were already on the main road going on our way. Mom looked at Jeremy through the mirror. "Honey, are you okay? He didn't try to mess with you or anything." She was more worried than she wanted to reveal. "No, he's just a drunk idiot." "Oh, okay." She calmed down a little bit. "Hun, what's on your cheek?" Jeremy quickly covered the cheek with his hand, wiping a dark spot from his face. I looked at his hand and shuddered. I could swear it was blood. He caught my look and tried to hide the hand in his pocket. "Is it blood?" I couldn't keep it in. "Sweetie, are you hurt?" My mom turned around. Jeremy threw a murderous look at me. "No, it's just mud, Mom. I stepped into a puddle on my way and it splashed all over me." "Oh, thank God. Here you go." Mom opened the glove box, got a pack of wet wipes, and gave one to Jeremy. "Thanks." He quickly wiped his face and hands. I couldn't stop staring at him, shocked and weirded out. Jeremy noticed my look and it clearly pissed him off. He rolled down his window and threw the wipe away. As he was doing so, he looked at me angrily and victoriously at the same time, as if knowing that he was getting away with something. I looked away, facing my window. There were goosebumps all over my body. I was scared and confused. Was Jeremy lying? Whose blood was that? Why did the stranger say that it wasn't my brother? After a while, I guardedly looked at Jeremy. He was sitting next to me, white as a paper, with an absent look in his eyes. There was something really off about him, but I just couldn't figure out what. We spent the rest of our trip in silence. When we arrived at our aunt's place, she was very happy to see us. She made us waffles, even though it was around 5 a.m. All of us were hungry after a long drive. Well, except for Jeremy. When we sat down around the table, he suddenly turned blue and excused himself. He covered his mouth and nose with his hand and rushed towards the bathroom. My parents and aunt thought he was just carsick, but I couldn't stop thinking about the words of that stranger with his crazy prophet's eyes. My brother had never gotten carsick. My brother had never refused a fresh-baked waffle. The rest of the day, Jeremy was very quiet. It seemed as if he was avoiding everyone. I didn't dare ask what was going on, and he probably wouldn't tell me. When it was getting dark, our aunt made up our beds in one room. Her place wasn't big, so my brother and I had to share. I went to sleep before him because I was very tired, but in the middle of the night, I suddenly woke up. The room was very cold. I got up to close the window when I noticed that Jeremy was sitting on his bed. "Hey, why aren't you sleeping?" I whispered. He didn't reply. I shut the window and came closer to Jeremy. He was sitting on his bed motionless. I looked into his face and shivered. Jeremy was weirdly pale with goggled empty eyes and a blank expression on his face. He didn't react to me approaching him. He didn't look at me or even blink. It was super creepy. He seemed almost like a robot that had been turned off. I was so freaked out that I ran to wake my mom. But when she came with me to check on Jeremy, he was lying in his bed pretending to be asleep. "You just had a nightmare, dear." She tried to calm me down. She tucked in my blanket, kissed me goodnight, and left. As soon as she closed the door and her steps went quiet down the hall, Jeremy started talking without turning to me or even opening his eyes. "You snitch on me again, I'll kill you." His cold, collected, distant voice got to my core. It sounded as if he wasn't mad, but simply clarifying, stating a fact. That tone, that behavior was so unlike the Jeremy that I knew. Not even in his worst times would he threaten me like that. I spent the rest of the night sleepless.